I feel like just by being a part of this team, I feel connected to them.
I have never, ever once in my life referred to my cousin as Joe.
This is Frank Lampard, and you're listening to Dudes in Blue.
He tried to park the bus from minute number 1, and that's exactly why we lost.
NYCFC obviously coming away with the W in the second round of the Hudson River Derby.
He's always been dude. I've always been dude. That's just the way it is, and we will now and forever be Dudes in Blue.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the most important NYCFC talk show. You guys are hanging with the Dudes in Blue. It's episode 100, and we are ready to party, Amanda. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's episode 100. This is absolutely fantastic, and we've definitely got a special guest in store for you guys today. Joe Amato here, Antonino, and over there, I think you might recognize that guy, Ian Joy. What's going on, man?
Hey, congratulations on 100. It's a pleasure and an honor to be a part of this famous episode. Thank you for having me.
We got Antonino hanging out, as always. What's up, dude?
What is going on? I am so pumped. We got Ian freaking Joy here, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a big one. Guys, start chiming in, letting us know that you're here right off the bat. We got to say hello to Jorge. Hello to Daniel. We've got Amanda. We got Coco, Ari, Glenn. Guys, thank you guys so much for joining us for episode 100. And one of the comments right off the bat, Coco is saying, all right, let the group therapy session begin. We definitely know what we're going to be covering in this episode. It's kind of unfortunate, though, that we have this match to cover in our 100th episode. Ian, right off the bat, I mean, you didn't call the game, but I'm sure you watched it. First impressions and your hot take, what is it?
Well, I watched it for about 85 minutes and then I got fed up and stopped watching it because I was a bit annoyed with the performance. But I'm sure most of you are in a similar position. It was frustrating. I mean, I thought the first 11 that we put out there was a good 11. I didn't quite expect the team to be so flat. They looked very tired. They were lethargic. Clearly a hot day in Portland. Clearly the surface was hot. I've actually played there. You know, I played at Portland for a year, and it's a tough place to play. When the water gets hot, the weather gets hot, it's like a bowl, so it traps the heat on the surface and it'll burn your feet. So that's something our players are obviously not used to so far this season because of the cold conditions on the East Coast, and there's maybe a shock to their system, plus the travel, plus the team has been absolutely fantastic up until this point. So I think it's one that we can just write off. You guys get away with that performance and you get away with the disappointment because they've been awesome so far this year. And it happens when things are going so well. You always get a little slap in the face from time to time to bring you back down to earth. And I'm seeing this as a positive thing. I'm taking it as a real positive that the guys recognize now that they're not unbeatable. They know they got to work hard for every single point that they earn and every win that they earn. And so far they've done that up until this performance, which was obviously disappointing. I think it was evident on the players' faces and Patrick's face in the end.
So, dude, we usually kind of like go line up here and doing a little bit of like player analysis here. Starting from the back, dude, Sean Johnson did not have a game that was Sean Johnson-like whatsoever.
No, and it's unusual, but again, you got to play the game in your head where you have to lose sometime, and which is fine. You're not going to win every single game. It's the fact that you don't want to lose games quite like that. You want to see a little bit of fight. You want to see a little bit of battle, and I don't think we saw that. Even Sean Johnson said the team didn't have that bite. That team really came out, like Ian said, super flat. There was no rhythm to the passing. There was no pace. It just seemed like everything was unglued. And it really, the miscommunication between him and Callens is really the match that set it off with that first goal. I mean, it was downhill from there. Definitely not one of his better games. I do expect more out of him. But again, it's tough for me to start, criticizing too heavily because this team has, pretty much killed it for the first, games before this. So, not what we want to see. And hopefully it's a wake up call and a reminder that, hey, look, this happens to you guys every so often. And it happened half of last season. So these are things that really need to be worked out.
Well, look,
Yeah.
I mean, if it took us 7 matches to get a performance like this, it's not that bad, right?
Right.
When you really look at it like that, right?
Yeah. Plus, the team doesn't concede too many goals. So to see the way they lost that game, you could tell things weren't quite right with the players or with the unit, with the weather, whatever it may be. The preparation, I'm sure, was on point, but you could tell that something wasn't quite right from the get-go. And even before we conceded the first goal, the team was just so flat. Passes were just going out of play. I mean, even Alex Ring's passing was pretty poor. Ofori, whose passing ability, in my opinion, has been phenomenal, he was poor. So a lot of our star players just didn't show up. And it's the type of performance and the type of game that you have. And as a former player, I've had many of them where you're looking at one another, you can't quite figure out what actually went wrong. It just wasn't our day.
Yeah, and but it was interesting too, but because in the second half, you looked like we had the momentum, we had the control in the second half, and then that goal just kind of deflated the team, and it was completely downhill from there, but getting a little too far ahead of us. We were talking last couple of episodes, actually, Ian, that for some reason, there are so many times where that back post is left wide open, and we saw Sebastian Blanco have 3 chances, one of them which he converted, pretty much wide open on that back post. What do you think is going on there defensively where there's such a gap every time? I mean, we saw it in New England. We saw it in Atlanta where, they make the switch and there's just nobody on them. What's going on?
Yeah. I think it's a matter of concentration, but also the fact that we like to attack and our players love to get forward. And when we're getting counter-attacked, sometimes you'll find it very difficult to get back in position and the unit's not quite connected as they normally should be. I think they've done a pretty good job this season. And I know the goals that we have conceded have been pretty similar. And that was unusual yesterday when you see that type of situation where it's 2 or 3 times in the one game. You would think after the one mistake in that position, you'd shut it up and you know exactly what to do the next time it happens. But it wasn't just your average game. It was a game where the team wasn't connected. Mentally, they weren't tuned in, and it was a poor performance all around. So to see the goalkeeper have that type of performance, Sean just doesn't normally play like that. He's had a tremendous start to the season. We had 1 or 2 flashes last year where maybe he let himself down, but it's rare that he has a game like that. And the miscommunication at the back post for the goal that went in first time around, it was just a communication problem. You have Alex Callens who needs to take care of that situation as the last guy behind the goalkeeper. And if the goalkeeper, Sean Johnson, doesn't recognize there's someone behind him, or even if he does hear the call to leave it, he can take care of that whole situation just by palming the ball out of danger, and then we don't have to worry about it. So I put it down as both of them, lack of communication and lack of taking control of that situation. And of course, when you're playing against a team like Portland who are trying to impress in front of their own supporters, and obviously a new coach, it's always going to be difficult. They were on form, we were not on form, and the better team won.
We've seen Sean Johnson really kind of transform season to season as a keeper. Yeah. He's commanding a lot more of his box this season versus last season. So it's so shocking to see a goal like that happen with a keeper like him who's developed so well. Anthony, I texted you, dude. It was like a goal in FIFA. It was just like one of those computer moments where you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable.
It happens.
It does. And again, those are the issues where you can actually take care of them. You understand exactly what went wrong. Whereas sometimes when this team plays, there are issues where you're just not understanding why it's happening. Why are passes going out of bounds? Why are guys not being marked the way they should be? Why are our defenders too central in the middle of the field at points in time? So for me, that's something that's going to get cleaned up, not a problem. For me, it's more of the trying to figure out the root of what's going on. Why is there no pace? Why is there no cohesion? And is it the lineup? I don't think it's the lineup, because those guys have been doing it all season when called upon. Whether they be starters or subs, they've got the job done. So for me, I just think it's a perfect combination of turf for 3 games in a row. You've got the heat involved, and you're just bound to lose it at some point. So I think this weekend was a perfect storm, and it's unfortunate, but again, now we got to look to bounce back.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those times where you've got to reflect. You've had 6 great games. This is now the one to reflect on, to realize, hey, we're actually still human. So let's just talk about a couple of the switches that Vieira made. So we saw Ofori start in the midfield over Yangel Herrera, and I'm guessing it's a resting thing. What'd you think of that, Ian?
I was surprised with that decision because when it's working, why try to change it or fix it? Don't try to change a thing. It's working and the team was winning. I can only imagine he's just trying to get players minutes that deserve minutes, and clearly Ofori deserves to play because his last performances have been pretty excellent. So I thought against Real Salt Lake he was fantastic. So difficult sometimes to leave top talented players out. But that's what happens when you're building a competitive squad. You're going to have 14 to 16 guys who all want to be in the starting 11 and who probably all should be in the starting 11. But as a coach, you got to make the decision, and the tough decision. I honestly don't think it would have made much of a difference because the team was so flat, and we probably would have seen Yangel being a flat player as well had he stepped in there. But it was a surprise, and the bigger surprise for me was probably putting Berget out on the left-hand side. Patrick had said time and time again, and I actually had a one-on-one with him where he told me that this guy can play at left full-back, he can play at midfield, and he can play in multiple positions, and I was a little shocked at that. And yesterday was another disappointing performance from him. In my opinion, he hasn't really shown his best qualities. We keep hearing from the club that he's not 100% fit. And I want to see more from him. And if he's going to play alongside David, then he has to do a better job than what he did yesterday. That's for sure.
How are you going to give a guy that kind of a start in that kind of a game if he's not 100% fit? I mean, that to me just – I mean, I guess, with the absence of Ismail Tajori, he was left with fewer options. But I've got some comments coming through, the Jonathan Lewis conversation can go on and on and on. But you left Medina on the bench. And you had Rodney Wallace in there, and honestly, Rodney Wallace has been, in my opinion, very, very lackluster. Dude, you and I have talked you want to talk about hot and cold, but mostly cold. I don't see what he's doing on the ball or really off the ball. I don't really see much there.
No, listen, it's been, I think, almost 11 months to the day that he scored a goal.
Dude. Somebody gave us the stat here. I'm going to find it in the comments, so keep going with your
Yeah, it's been almost a year since he scored a goal. As a forward, that's not good. And yesterday, I know he had a beautiful chance. He was offside by about 6 feet, and he still missed the net. So I would have preferred that gone in and just would have been like, all right, well, he's still got the ability to put it in. But again, you're trying to find the right combination, but at the same time, going to what Ian said, you want everybody to play so that way when they're called upon, they have the ability to do so. I don't think the fitness with Berget is maybe not so much of a injury thing. It's more of like you got to get minutes under your legs so you can kind of your stamina gets there. That's part of it too. And he had moments with Villa yesterday where they were backheeling it and they were getting into the box. And at other times they were stumbling over each other. So for me, I do want to see more of him because I think he's going to be a key factor coming in off the bench once Tajuri's healthy. Wallace is good on defense just because he has that ability. But again, I think he's going to end up lending himself too much to the defensive side of the ball to have enough effort left to come back on offense and actually get space. He had that one header in the box. But other than that, I mean, really just a non-factor so far.
If I was starting 11 yesterday, sorry to interrupt. If I was choosing the starting 11 yesterday with Tajuri Shradi out of the obviously contention for being in the starting 11, I would have put Rodney on the left-hand side. I think there's a partnership that can be built with him and Matarrita where Mata loves to get forward and Rodney can also sit back and recover for Mata when Mata wants to get forward. They have a really good partnership. We haven't seen it too much, but we have witnessed quality from both of those guys on the left-hand side. Mm-hmm. And then I would have had Jesus Medina on the right-hand side. And I, of course, would have liked to have seen Ofori maybe take his place on the bench and put Yangel in there. That would have been my starting 11.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. We saw Wallace start there at the beginning of last season. The Costa Rican connection that those two guys had last year at the beginning before Mata got injured, they looked pretty dangerous. That connection was very, very strong. So that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. That makes a hell of a lot of sense. Daniel comments and says, according to Matthew Doyle, it's been 1,530 minutes since Rodney Wallace last scored 17 games worth of action. So, I mean, I guess, look, as an attacker, you're not always going to score goals, but you're going to be involved, right? I think And I just don't see the involvement there. And maybe it's putting him on the right hand side. But even still, when he was starting on the left with Medina on the right, how many times did we see them switch on and off during a game? That can't be good for a connection either, right, Ian? I mean, you know this as a player, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think there's partnerships that can be built there. I've seen a lot more of a connection between Rodney and Mata than I have seen with Ben Sweat and Rodney Wallace together on that left-hand side. But then you can also throw into the competition that maybe you play Ben Sweat on the left-hand side with Matarrita further forward. I'd love to see Matarrita on the left-hand side as an advanced player, because he obviously is a player that loves to get forward. He obviously is a player that can beat players 1v1, and he's got a sweet left foot. So, there's a number of little connections that you can put together on the left-hand side. It's a life of luxury for Patrick. It's just about him, and it all comes down to him at the end of the day for the 11 that he chooses to go with. So, Tommy's also one that's on the sidelines that might have even had an opportunity to start when you consider the fact that this is a game where we're going to try and give minutes to players. Ofori is playing because he needs minutes. Berget's playing because he needs minutes. Tommy obviously had a fantastic game the last time we played in Portland. Would have liked to have seen him get some minutes there. But there's a number of options, and I really don't think it would have made much of a difference. The conditions were difficult. The team was just so flat. And at the end of the day, Patrick has to take responsibility for the 11 he put out there.
So is it a function of the 11 that was out there that the team was so flat, or was this a complete brain fart on the team's part as a whole, or is this more of a coaching thing? Ian, what do you think?
I think it was actually just a flat performance. It was probably a flat situation from even getting off the bus, arriving at Portland. The weather conditions are hot. And I've been there multiple times as a player where you just look at each other and you're like, what the hell is going on? Why are we not getting it together? We can't even link a pass together. We're conceding opportunity after opportunity. And Portland are a good team. You got to give them some credit, even though they haven't started the season well.
Right.
They got a new coach. They're a good team. They're well run. The supporters group are absolutely fantastic. So that is a tough place to go play. And if you're not at your best in Major League Soccer away from home, forget about it being at Portland. If you're not at your best away from home, it's difficult to pick up points because of the travel, the conditions, and also on turf. But then throw in the supporters group on top of that. Sure. Then throw in the fact that Portland were very, very good on the day. And it took a good Portland team to beat us. Even though we were nowhere near our best, it was a very good Portland side that deserved the 3 points, and they worked incredibly hard for it.
It's true.
Ari is saying, I'm cool with the switching lineups, but our flow needs to never change. Passes weren't crisp. Is the Portland nightlife that good? I've never been. Ian, you've probably been there.
Yeah, well, there is actually a lot of good nightclubs in Portland, and I spent a good year there, so I can tell you from personal experience there's a lot of influence off the field to get carried away. But it's a great point. The team looked like they'd been on a night out the day before a game. They looked just so flat. But I go back to it. I actually calmed myself down from putting out an angry tweet on social media saying, hey, listen, this is not good enough, guys. And I thought about the big picture. Our club is being run incredibly well from top to bottom. We have an amazing coach in charge. How long, we'll find out soon. But also the team that he's putting together, the coaching staff, what Claudio's doing, and the president as well. This is an amazing squad of players that we have right now. We will not lose many games like that this season. That is for sure. So I calmed myself down and I said, okay, it's a one-off. We might get that once or twice maximum a season where we get hammered like that. We went to Atlanta and we played very well. And it was an awesome game. One of the best games I've seen in Major League Soccer. The second half, the way we played, blew me away. So I'm proud of the team, the way they've started this season. I think they can afford to have a day off.
Yeah, just a couple quick comments here. Paul saying it was our mentality was too slow. Joe is saying, yes, it's one blip. Let's keep it rolling. It is. It's the very beginning of the season, but it is definitely a blip. There is one other player that I just want to chat a little bit about before we move on to the next little piece here. And, dude, that's David Villa. Gets the start and touches the ball, 30 times, 34 times, something like that. And he was just getting manhandled, dude. Like, he was like, it wasn't pretty to watch.
No. And again, you're talking about another player who match fit is a different story than being, healthy. He definitely needs minutes because at this point in time last year, he's already played 7 games and he's got all those minutes under his legs and he knows his teammates, he's acclimated. He hasn't really had that opportunity yet. So you're still going to see that from him and you'll see the flashes of brilliance like the holding up the ball in the box to get the ball to ring the week before for the goal, the back heels to get the plays going. So you're going to see that. But again, it's very difficult and this team really has to stay away from that. The thing it did last year where it's like everybody looks at Villa as the savior to take it home and put it in the net. When you realize that now this year, everybody can score. Everyone's a threat on this team, which is amazing. Villa has to work himself into that fitness level and be like, all right, well, I've got all these players that are going to help me out. We're going to have a great time. Whereas if the players start to, a couple shots go over the net or somebody's off, next thing you know, they're going to want to give it to the next guy and give it to the next guy. And it ends up all coming down to him in the end. And one guy versus 4 or 5 is just not going to happen. So people is a shell of himself so far. I don't think so. I think that's a little harsh. I think you just need a guy that needs a little bit more time to get acclimated. I don't think he's lost a step. I just think he's close. I just think he needs a couple more games to get under his belt and keep the wheels going.
Yeah, you gotta look at last week, right? Like he was not expecting to play as much as he did last week.
No.
Right? So, and to see what he pulled off in that game was pretty tremendous. So you can't really give him too much flack for this kind of performance. And again, to Portland's defense, their defense was solid. They were shutting us down. They had, we had very few opportunities, and that was mainly due to us, but partly due to Portland and their momentum on their turf and all that. So they did a really good job of shutting him down. There was very few opportunities for him to get some space.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Ian, any thoughts on Villa?
Yeah, I do. I'm glad I'm getting an opportunity to talk about him actually, because it's been in my head quite a lot since David has returned from injury and also since the beginning of the season. David, what he has done for our club is unforgettable. It's been amazing, and he'll continue to do that. He'll continue to score goals because he's super fit. He's a guy that looks like he can play at least another 2 or 3 seasons if he really wants to. He clearly needs to get back to his 100% sharpness, as Anthony was just saying. He needs to get back that 90 minutes under his belt where he's non-stop grafting, working, fighting for opportunities, and obviously when the chances arise, he's taking those chances, which he normally does. But he's not been himself so far this season. And I think that goes back to the first match day against Sporting KC. He looked like he was just a fraction off pace with his fitness levels. His shooting wasn't as sharp or as crisp, but he knows that. This is a world-class striker who knows what he's got to do to get back to full fitness in front of goal, full sharpness. And I think that only comes by playing games. And you can't get that in training. You cannot get that even playing in a reserve team game or a training game. You have to play MLS games to get that. So we might see another 2 or 3 again, like Anthony said, before we actually get to the best David Villa. But something else that's been playing in my mind after watching the team perform without David in the team has been the fact that yesterday we created more chances than Portland. And we actually had more shots than Portland, and our passing was a higher percentage of completion than Portland. So we had a lot of the ball. We didn't take our chances.
Right.
But when David is not on the field, the chances we are creating are being spread around the team. And the goals have been spread around the team. It's not one individual player who's scoring all the goals or being put in that position. When David is on the field, we have a habit of watching our team play to David or play around David a little bit more than we probably should do. The first thought in your mentality when you pick up possession of the ball is to look for the best possible option when David's not on the field. You're looking around at the best possible option. But when David is on the field, he's so good and he's so deadly in front of goal. Naturally, your reaction is, where's David? How can I get the ball to David? How can we create a chance for David? So the fact that we have a great squad of players that can actually be excellent without David and competitive in Major League Soccer and potentially a candidate to go on and win even without David is excellent for all of us because we're creating a squad and we're preparing for the fact that David's not going to be around forever. But we're only a matter of time from seeing David back to his best, back to full fitness, and back scoring goals again, because he is that type of player. He's a winner, and it will eventually happen for him. And it only take one game to just let it click off, and away he goes again. So I'd like to see the team be a bit more selfish with David on the field. But that, again, is just trying to get games under your belt with David there.
It's funny, Ian, like you're preaching to the choir. We talked about this last week, and actually a couple of comments coming through. Jorge, we owe it to Villa. Even if he isn't up to speed with the rest of the team, he is our legend. We 100% do. He carries the team on his back. And Amanda says, I think this was brought up in the last episode. She says, Anthony said that the team needed to be confident and to trust themselves to score instead of always relying on David Villa. We've been talking about this dude for quite a while now. And
yeah, and it's like he needs to, it's not that he needs to adjust. He needs to get himself back acclimated with the 90-minute game of the full speed, the full head of steam. And the team around him needs to not change the way they're playing. He needs to integrate himself with the way they were playing while he was out. Could you just imagine what the team would look like if he was on point and the rest of the team was playing the same way? I would just be out of my mind the way they would be putting in at least 3 goals a game, and you'd be talking about some of the most ridiculous play we've ever seen from a team in soccer. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
To do that, you got to get the other guys more confident. It was a great point, whoever just made that point on Facebook there. You got to get the guys more confident and more selfish. They got to be able to say to David, hey, shut up, David. That was my opportunity. Mm-hmm. And because a lot of the time you'll see David get frustrated that the ball didn't come to him. You know, he's very emotional on the field. So I think the guys just need to be more confident, more selfish. And David will still score goals because he is class. There's no doubt that this team will create the chances that he needs to get double figures and possibly 20-plus goals again this season, even though he started slowly. But you're right. Like, I want to see more goals. I want to see double figures from 2 or 3 of our players this season, and it's possible.
Sure.
No, it is.
Absolutely.
And we've seen it happen without David on the field this season. And that to me, I think, is the biggest success that we've seen out of the first 7 matches of the season, is that what this team's been able to do with David, and more importantly without David on the field. Again, there is no doubt he's our captain. There's no denying the man is an absolute legend.
No one would ever deny that. Let me ask you this. Before the season started, and you all watched preseason games online, did either of you think that we would see the type of performances without David that we did see this season? Did either of you think that would happen?
I didn't think we were going to see this performance with or without him. They looked like, I'm telling you, Ian, we joked about this, but it's probably not a joke. Patrick was like, look, guys, play like crap, and then when the season starts, start really playing. He's like a pool shark. Like, he's like, no, we really don't know how to play soccer. We've played a couple times. Like, you want to try? and then he fields the 11 that destroys RSL at home. It's like, what? Wait a minute. To answer your question in a nutshell, dude, absolutely not, right?
No. It's just they didn't look. And again, that's something that you kind of expect in preseason because the turnover in this league seems to be very frequent. You get maybe 2 years of a solid core together, and then things kind of change up. Players go their own way, and they try to make names for themselves and try to find best fits for them, and which is fine. But you kind of have to reintegrate people every so often, and it just so happened this year there was a lot more to integrate than last season. So just seeing that and seeing the way they were playing, we were like, this is, I hope this is not how we play. I really hope this is not how we play because we're in trouble. But then you see the guys come in, and what they've been able to do is probably the biggest story. It's not the fact that they've won, the first 7 games. It's the fact that look who they've done it with, and look how many people have been pulling their own weight equally around the field. It's not one person. It's not one guy doing all the work. It's everybody's collectively it's a well-oiled machine. And that, I think, to us is the most surprising thing because last year we really only saw the well-oiled machine a couple of times, and other times it was the David Villa show, or it was the Jack Harrison show, or the Sean Johnson show. Now you're not seeing that. Now it's more of the NYCFC show.
Sure. I think that the off-season was important. After losing Jack, we were all disappointed and wondered how on earth we'd manage to survive without Jack Harrison, bombing down the right-hand side, taking players on, beating players. But I can only imagine you're like me. I at times I watch the team and I don't even remember Jack was there because the team is so dynamic now, and they've improved. They've got the squad better. Tajuri Shradi has surprised all of us because of his goals, because of how dynamic he's been, and the goals in New England blew me away. That performance was phenomenal. I think Afori's been very good. He needs some time. Obviously, you can clearly see that yesterday was evident, but his passing, and he has real potential in that position. I'm not sure that he can even get into the team. That's the problem for him, because you would imagine Yangel is number one and Alex alongside of him, and then Maxi Morales. So there's been a real consistency around the starting 11, except for Patrick tinkering with one or two players when he maybe didn't need to. I think we could have won all 8 of our games because we had so many chances. And even yesterday against Portland, we created a lot of chances, but just were not on form. And had we gone out with our strongest 11, I think it would have been maybe a different outcome. We wouldn't have lost the game 3-0. It might have still been flat, but we would have probably seen a unit that's been playing together week after week after week, and we would have created more chances, maybe taken more chances.
Yeah, your Lalo is saying that, speaking about Tajuri, it made missing Harrison not so painful at all, which is 100% true. Christian agrees. Tajuri Shradi is an animal. He's been something else. You hope for a very speedy recovery from him, because he brings something to the team that, again, makes you, I don't want to say forget about Jack, but the man's already put up, 4 goals?
Yeah.
That's dirty from somebody that we didn't think, we saw him in preseason, we were like, who's this guy? Like, what's he going to do?
Yeah,
He's like,
no expectations.
I think, dude, does he still have 100% shot on target accuracy for goal scoring?
I believe he does.
He has
every
scored.
shot on goal has gone in.
That's right. Every shot on goal of his has gone in, which is pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive.
That's not impressive. Listen, he's been awesome to watch, and we actually interviewed him after the Real Salt Lake game. His English was fantastic, and he was a gentleman, like very friendly, very open. You can imagine that he fits in very well in our group in that locker room. That's something that's really impressed me as well. The guys off the field all seem to really get along with one another. They win together and they lose together. Yesterday, for example, there's no one out there blasting on social media music from the locker rooms and dancing and singing and bullshit behind the scenes. This is a group that's together, and you can clearly see that they win together, they lose together, and they move on to the next match together. I'm expecting a completely different performance next time out. So these guys who have been added to the squad are only improving our squad's depth, and that's why Patrick's got such a difficult job. He's trying to keep all the guys happy, but at the same time, I'd like to see us go with our best squad, a best 11 every single game, unless we're preparing down the line someday for Champions League or, a cup finals coming up, Open Cup or whatever. Then I can understand it. But we don't play enough games to rest guys. I'd like to see our player best 11, the guys who are performing well week in and week out, who deserve to stay there. Because then the competition is really fierce in training. Then the competition to get in that 11, to stay in that 11, is always going to be fierce. There's some guys who played yesterday who know they'll play next week, and maybe that was the wrong mentality to have.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. I do have to throw up a comment here. Amanda says, we still miss you, Jack. So we do. We still do. We still do.
Forever in our hearts.
That's right. Christian says, NYCFC has been historically good at coming back from losses. We noticed this. We definitely noticed this before. They've got a good track record of playing a really crappy game. I mean, I called them Jekyll and Hyde for the past couple of seasons. One match played like Portland, and then the next match play like RSL, and see them flip-flop. This could be one of those opportunities. Now, Dallas is the only team now that's still undefeated, I believe, correct?
We need our fact checker.
They had a good performance at the weekend, I'll tell you that much. They haven't won all the games, but I think you're right. I think they are undefeated.
Yeah, so it's Roddy Russell. By the way, Roddy's like our fact checker, Ian. Like he comes in every episode and he runs. He's fact checking like crazy. He says, "Yes, remember, we have not lost 2 matches in a row since April of 2016." Thanks for putting that up, Roddy, and jinxing us. Really appreciate it. So. John is saying,
that's a great stat, though. Shout out to Roddy because he's awesome. That's a great stat, though, right? I mean, how many teams can say that in Major League Soccer that you've never lost 2 games in a row? And to have that type of mentality going into Dallas, and like we all agree, like this will be a different performance this time out. If Dallas beat us and they're better than us on the day, fair play. But I think the performance from our guys will be a lot better. And it better be, because we got the derby after that. So we got to get a good performance before we get into that game.
That's right. He says, no, not a jinx. John is saying if we win on Sunday, I think most of us will write off this last match. I think that's 100%. I mean, I think we should kind of write it off, whatever the result is on Sunday to an extent, just because this was very uncharacteristic of the NYCFC we've seen so far this season. So I think it's safe to say that this is definitely not our norm. Just one quick thing here before we get on to the next thing. Jorge is saying Medina has one more assist this season than Harrison had all of last. Sorry,
Right.
Medina is better. I mean,
Yeah, but how many goals did Jack have last year?
Double figures.
All right, so when Medina gets double figures, then I'll say he's better than.
And that's doable. That's doable.
Of course.
Because he's got that ability, right? I mean, he's been a player that in the preseason I was pretty disappointed in, and I couldn't quite imagine what the club's seen in him, even though we had flashes of his brilliance. When he started the season, that first game against Sporting KC, man, oh man, great finish. But leading up to that, I thought, wow, he's showing some flashes, but still he's got a lot of work to do. He's very raw. After that game against KC, he then really turned it up, and I've been so impressed with what he's done this season. But he's a young boy, and you have to manage that well. I can understand why Patrick would want to maybe rest him now and again.
yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
They're having like an argument now in the comment section about Jack. I'm not even going to get into it. You see what you started? Ian? This is what happens when you come on the show.
Can I say this though? Jack was he'll forever be missed at our club, right? Because he meant so much from the very beginning, getting drafted and what he blew away from performance-wise, getting into the first team and then like getting better year after year was just great to watch. I mean, he was an entertainer. He's the type of player that I would pay money to watch, and I wouldn't put a price tag on what I would pay to watch that type of player. I wouldn't be surprised that down the line he returns to MLS and represents our club once again, because he must be frustrated. He's not playing regularly in the championship. He's not. And as a player, you want to play week in and week out. It's difficult to get into Manchester City's team, and he's not going to do that anytime soon. So where's he going to go? If it's not going to be the championship, maybe a lower team in the Premier League where he can play. And it's tough to play down there. Playing at the bottom half of the table is really difficult. That's where I think he would get his opportunity in the Premier League. So I've been disappointed the fact that he's not played many games in England since his arrival there. So there's potential that you never know. I'd like to say you never know. And if there's a chance to get Jack back, I would take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think most of us would agree with that for sure.
Well said.
Ian, are you superstitious?
Yes, very much so,
Okay.
yeah.
So we had a couple of comments here. The Parley jersey is cursed.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I texted the kit man yesterday and said, never wear that jersey again. Straight after the game. Before the game, I texted him, I said, please, whatever you can do, save me one of those jerseys. And then after the game, I said, keep that jersey and make sure you guys never wear that jersey again. Dan responded right away, thank God we never have to wear it again this season.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, same thing happened last year against Orlando. Come on.
I will say this, though. It was kind of nice to watch New York Red Bull wear City Blue on the back of their jersey.
Oh, yes.
They had blue on the back of the jersey. I thought, would we ever wear red on the back of our jerseys just for the sake that it's a rival? I'm not sure about that.
No.
Probably not.
They posted it proudly on their Twitter page, too. It was really funny. It was really,
Looks a
really
lot
funny.
like the kit Ian's wearing right now.
I know, right?
That is so funny. Guys in the comments, we need to talk about this even though the match sucked. Ian, we always pick a dude of the match. It was the player that gave us the best performance that we feel. And dude, we didn't necessarily give it to only an NYCFC player, but this year it's been NYCFC players so far. In the comments, The comments are going to start coming through. Who was the dude of the match for you guys in the comments? And let us know. And we usually try to take a vote on that. But yeah, Ian, do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, it's really hard in a match like this to pick out who stood out because everybody was so flat.
Yeah, I find it difficult to pick a single player out from our team that would be my man of the match or even deserved man of the match. I think that there was so it was so frustrating watching the mistake for the opening goal between Alex and Sean, and then watching Tinnerholm just simply push the ball out of play when he's trying to pass it out wide to Morales or Wallace. Like, those are the type of mistakes you just don't normally see from our team. So I find it difficult. I thought that there was probably more players who were poor than there were players who deserved the shout out of being good in that match. So I'd absolutely go for a Portland player for being a man of the match. Because they were very good and they actually really entertained on the day. They were fun to watch. They passed the ball around. You could see there was a determination there in their performances. I thought Blanco was pretty impressive. I mean, he was a hungry player, even though he missed that glaring opportunity in front of goal he should have scored. You know, he got his goal in the end and he was pretty good.
Yeah, no, for sure. Dude, your dad's chiming in. Uncle Dom, you mean the dud of the match is...
There you go.
That's good. You can always count on that from Uncle Dom, Ian, by the way. That's
like
the best. Gotta love that.
I love it. Who's your dud? Come on, let's do it. Who's the dud of the match?
All right, we will pick. I just want to get to a couple of comments real quick because we will talk about that. So we got a couple of upvotes for Alex Ring, and then Justin says, or Sebastian Blanco, who was funny. That's who I was thinking of. But Alex Ring had, I think, a very Alex Ring-ish kind of game, where he's very physical in the midfield, made a couple of key tackles, earned his yellow card, and was very much consistent. So, you know, for that I can understand. But, dude, are we okay with giving the dude of the match to a Portland player?
Well, we've done it in the past. I mean, in the first 2 seasons, I've given it to Joe Bendick, I think, twice because he was ridiculous against us. But for me, if you're going to get a dude of the match is somebody that really stands out amongst both teams. It just so happened that we won all of our, games so far, so it was easy to pick someone from our squad. If it's from our squad only, I'm going with Ring just because he was pretty much business as usual. A little bit on the flatter side, but still very, very much a game that he normally plays. But for me, it's either Adi or Blanco. Adi was all over the field yesterday for Portland, and Blanco had his chances and he capitalized on one, even though it was a little bit of a mistake on our part. But again, both of those players for me were hungry. They were on the line. They were taking their opportunities, and they were finding space wherever they could. So for me, it's either Adi or Blanco. I'm going to go with Blanco just because I think he was a little bit better. But either one of them, for me, I'm okay with giving it to a Portland player. I think
we all mentioned Blanco, right?
Yeah.
And a couple of times throughout the episode, he's come up. I think Lauren. This is sad that we got to do this, but it's the first time that we're giving due to the match to an opposing player. Sebastian Blanco gets due to the match for episode 100, and it's our 100th episode. We got to give it to a freaking Portland player. This is unbelievable. But this will be the first dud of the match. So, right. Man, I hate to have to give it to Sean Johnson, but I think I got to give it to Sean Johnson. Who's your dud of the match, guys? In the comments while Anthony and Ian battle this out. Who's your dud of the match? Thanks, Uncle Dom, for giving us that.
There's just too many.
Patrick
it was like a box of cheap fireworks, man. Just light them up and just nothing. I mean, listen, the miscommunication between Callens and Johnson led to a goal. I didn't think Johnson had his best day. But again, nobody was really on. So it's hard to you can't put blame on one person because that wasn't the case. So I can't really pick anybody. I can pick the moment. So if you want to give it between Callens and Johnson, but I don't want to pick anybody negatively like that.
You're the sweet vote, but Ian, what do you think?
I find it hard to pick one because there wasn't actually one player who drastically stood out as being awful on the day either. Yeah. They were all pretty flat. And I think the incident that we conceded for the first goal was evident that we weren't ourselves. And that was probably the moment of the game that turned it against our favor. Because if you can get to halftime and you've been pretty bad, then you've got a chance in the second half. You can all at least communicate with one another and then come up with a game plan. Hey, we're not playing well. We're going to try and figure a way out to get out of here with something.
That's true.
We didn't quite make that happen. So that was the moment that got us. So I think Alex and Sean deserve a bit of criticism for that, and we've certainly given it to them on this episode. So
I don't think we're going to record this. We're not going to write this down. This will not make the history books. But yeah, we have to give. if we got to give it done to the match, I could understand that. I could totally understand that. And of course, the comments are lighting up on this. So the first goal was the dud of the match, says Coco. It definitely was. That I think that just took whatever inflation they had, just deflated it even faster. It just just the way that transpired, it just kind of sucked. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. We got Dallas on Sunday back at Yankee Stadium. Ian, is this a yes game? Are you calling that game?
It is a yes game, but I'm going to be in studio. I'm in the studio all week at Fox with Bundesliga Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I'm not got the possibility of getting out there, which is disappointing because this is a game I'd love to be on. I really like Dallas, and I like what they're building there. They got a good squad of players. They're a consistently good team to watch perform, even though the attendance that they get doesn't always show it. They are actually very entertaining, and I like the coach as well. I think he's got a well-oiled machine. They're tough to beat. They're not going to be an easy team to defeat. They're not going to be a fun team to play against. But I think on our day, if we can get our boys back to their best, nobody can compete with us, especially at home. So it's a game I'm disappointed to be missing, but I know that the performance is going to be excellent. I'll be watching, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough one. Guys, we've done this the last couple episodes. We've got some Dudes in Blue stickers that we want to give out to you guys. Leave us your comments with your score prediction, and I'll pick somebody at random right before the show is over in a couple of minutes. We're going to send you out some Dudes in Blue stickers. And, guys, while you're doing that, while you're putting your score predictions in there, smash the like button and the heart button for Ian Joy for coming on episode 100. This is like an honor to have you on here, man. This is crazy.
Not an honor. It's my privilege to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's a lot of fun. Here come the score predictions, obviously. But really quick, there's been some leaked news about the stadium. I still don't want to put too much water in this conversation because it's really hard, because every time we've had a conversation about it, it amounted to nothing. This one obviously seems like the most plausible proposal here, but it's still kind of up in the air, right? Dude.
Oh yeah. I don't want.
That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted awkward silence when we talk about the stadium.
I don't want to build anything up to have it torn down on me. Yeah, it seems like it's got legs to it, but how long those legs have been growing and running and churning, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I just want to watch this team play soccer. They can play in my backyard. They can play in my front yard, in Yankee Stadium, Shea Stadium, Citi Field, wherever they want to play. I just want to watch these guys play for right now. I don't want to have to worry about the stadium and what's going on until there's a shovel in the ground.
Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned, for this club to move forward, we have to have our own stadium. We have to have our own home. And from what I'm hearing behind the scenes, that the Yankees simply are putting pressure on to get out. And I can understand that, right? This is a field that is normally graced by only baseball players. And now to watch soccer players go on that field and absolutely tear it up. And many of our opponents that we're playing against don't even deserve to lace up boots, let alone stand on that amazing grass. So I can understand their frustrations. But as a club and a part of this club, I know everybody inside wants this to happen now. They want it to happen yesterday. They all want it to happen immediately. There's money there. They're willing to spend. They just got to find the location. And if they can lock down the location, and it seems like, especially what's been rumored, that it's a lot of money that's going to be involved in it, but that's what we need. If we want to be the best in Major League Soccer, which I believe we have the potential to be, the best run franchise, the best run club, the best supporters, got to give a platform for those supporters to be themselves. You got to give a platform, a stage for all those players that we want to try and attract to New York to be the best in the league year in and year out. You have to have your own stadium. You're not going to be able to do it in a baseball stadium for the next 10, 15 years. And I think that behind the scenes, we've put together an amazing amount of work to watch the club grow. But to make that next step after watching LAFC, after watching Atlanta, after watching multiple clubs around, and there's even smaller clubs like Minnesota who are doing an amazing job building their own stadium there. DC United are doing it. And I'm hearing rumblings now of New England getting their own near Boston. Like, that's what has to happen for our club to move in the right direction. We have to be the best at everything. If it's not going to be the best, let's not do it. Let's wait for the right location. So let's make sure our supporters are happy, then the players will be happy, and then everybody around the club will be happy, and we'll be the best.
So that was pretty much the best stadium rant we've ever had on this episode. It's a lot more eloquently put than Anthony and I could ever possibly do it. And I hope you people in the comments who've been asking about this stadium are happy with that, because you're not going to get it any better than Ian Joy talking about the stadium.
I'm hearing more and more every time I go. It's one of the first things I ask. There's two questions I ask every time I go. One, when are we going to travel to away games to broadcast the games in the booth at stadiums? I'm always asking that question, and I keep getting the same answer. It's only a matter of time. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Unless we want to be the best broadcast team in MLS, we got to be at the games, right? We got to give the best product to our supporters, and they watch us more when we're away from home than they do when we're at home. So give us the opportunity to be there. And the club and the Yes Network need to agree on that. I love both of them, but please get a deal done. And then on the other hand, every single time we found a location, we're looking into it. We found a location, we're looking into it. So it's only a matter of time. We know it's all going to get done, and we know it's going to be awesome when it happens.
That is so great. Ian, I got to put up some of the comments here for you. David is saying, Ian Joy speaking the truth. Mark is saying, thank you, Ian Joy. Roddy is saying, preach it, Prophet Ian. Ari, tell it like it is. Andres, can Ian be on every week? See, we shouldn't have, sorry, Ian, we shouldn't have had you on, because now you've set the bar now, like, way too high. Next week, it's going to be way back down here when it's just me and Anthony. It's going to be like.
Don't believe it. Listen, it's my honor to be on with you guys.
That's great.
And be able to talk about this. I don't get the chance to preach, and I really don't get the chance. I only get it maybe 12, 13 times a year when I'm with Joe doing the commentary, and that's my moment to show my love and passion for this club. And there was a moment where Joe called me in a panic in the off season because he'd heard a rumor that I was going to be going to LAFC in their broadcast team, and he called me in a panic like, please, whatever you do, don't let it be true. And I'm like, dude, it would take a hell of a lot to get me to walk away from this club. Being there from the beginning and having, this is something that means a lot to me, and you all mean a lot to me. The supporters give me the trust to tell the truth. I can criticize the team. I can criticize Patrick. I can criticize and whatever I want. And I have the backing of the supporters. And I also have the trust of the supporters to know that whenever I want to be myself and say the truth, I can do that. Other analysts and other broadcasters around the league, they don't do that. They have criticism from their own board, from the executives, from their supporters. How can you be so hard on our team? Give me a break. Our supporters deserve the best, and that's to be told the truth. And I think that's what I'm paid to do.
How does it feel calling games for a team that you actually emotionally support? That's got to be cool.
Yeah, it is. Somebody asked me on Twitter before the game against Portland, because I was captain of Portland Timbers the year before they went into MLS. It was my last ever season as a player. So the Timbers Army and Portland Timbers meant a lot to me, being my last year as a pro. But I answered simply that the Timbers Army will always have a place in my heart, and they always will. Portland has a place there too, because it's a former club of mine. But I'm now New York. I've been there from the beginning. It was my dream to be and working in and around New York at some point in my career. And as a passionate person, I don't think I'm surrounded by any better supporters than New Yorkers, because they show passion for sport like I've never seen before. They show an aggression and an anger, which I love. That you only ever see that in New York and around the area, where they are allowed to tell the truth about the players and what they feel. So calling games is an absolute honor, and be able to communicate with you guys and on your show and mix with the supporters around the stadium. It's a real privilege for me. It really is.
Amazing. Guys, one more time, smash the like button and the heart button for Ian Joy, and thank him for being here on the show. Ian, where can people follow you on the social networks? Do you do the Twitter?
I do Twitter. I'm not as active as I used to be, but I do the Twitter. All of my social media is at Joy Paul Ian. It's my name spelled backwards. So you can get it on Instagram, on Facebook as well. I have a new one I was told to open last year, so it's open. I'm quite active on Instagram, especially around my family and around the studio as well. And I like to do it behind the scenes when I'm at the stadium in the broadcast booth and try to wind Joe up somewhat as well. So you can go follow me on any of those networks.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again so much for joining us. Dude, any final thoughts before we wrap this bad boy up?
I just want to give my thanks to everybody. This is the 100th time that we've done this. If you watched the video when we started, you could see how bare bones it was. It was just audio. It was strictly bad mics and just not knowing what was going on. A lot of ahs and ums and pauses. To be where we are now, where we get, 30 people at a time coming in, and listen, you can be doing anything with your Monday night for an hour, but you choose to be with us, and you get your voice heard, and you hear our opinion. You get our wonderful guests like Ian here. It's been nothing short of amazing. I'm so glad that we're here. We get to do this, and let's keep it going. I'm so excited. This has been one of the greatest episodes we've ever had. This has been one of the greatest years we've ever had. And I just like the team, I want to keep growing. I want all of us to be able to grow. And I'm glad this is a platform for everyone, not just us. Everyone gets their voice heard. We throw the comments up. We try to answer as many as we can. You guys are much faster with your fingers than we are with our mouths. So we try to get everything involved. And we really, from the bottom of our hearts, we love you guys. And you guys are the best. And we just hope that throughout the year, you guys continue coming to us, and we'll come to you, and we'll have a great time.
Dude, that's awesome. Really, really well said. We really appreciate everybody for joining us for our 100th episode. We do have a little bit of a giveaway here. I do got to pick a winner here really quick. I had it written down, and it's Lalo Speedy Ortega. He says, NYC3, Dallas 1. You're going to win a couple of Dudes in Blue stickers. Shoot us a direct message on Facebook right after the episode's over in a couple of seconds. And last but not least, guys, we've actually created some iPhone wallpapers for you guys based off of our designs. Check them out there. You can go to dudesinblue.com/download to get those wallpapers. Go check them out. They're pretty sweet. Ian, it's been a pleasure having you on our 100th episode. We hope to have you on again soon. Thank you to all of the followers, the fans, the listeners, the viewers, all the reviewers. Make sure to follow us, follow Ian, and really, episode 101 is next Monday night at 8 o'clock after the Dallas match. So we hope we see you guys there. And Ian, again, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us.
Yes, thank you, Ian.
Here's to the next 100.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great night. And as always, stay blue.
Stay blue.